portion of Studio 10 is a paid advertisement.
Welcome back to Studio 10. Getting in any kind of a car accident runs the gamut between annoying and terrifying, and something that nobody is anticipating. But there are things you can do ahead of time to prepare for this hopefully unlikely scenario. With us again today, Brian Caulfield and Matt Noyes from Perenich and Carroll. Guys, welcome.
Thank you, Tim.
Good to have you again.
Good to be back.
Well, let's start off with the process of an accident. You're not planning for it, or are you? The first thing you want to do every day before you get in the car. What do you want to do to prepare for potentially getting in an accident? Brian, we'll start with you.
Well, I think one of the things you want to do, I know from time to time you'll see, like in AAA, you'll see reports of what you really should do to prepare. Number one, you have to make sure you have proper insurance. And number two, it's always a good idea in your glove box to have pencil, paper. You also want to have a disposable camera. And of course, you want to have your registration and insurance information handy for the police officer. The most important thing from our perspective is you have to have correct insurance. One of the things that we see, people come into our office after an accident, and when we ask them what their insurance coverage is, they can't understand why we're asking that, because they say, well, the accident was clearly the other person's fault. Why are you asking about my insurance? And the reason is because here in Florida, it's very important to have uninsured motorist coverage. That's one of the coverages that we think is most important, because many drivers here in Florida, people don't understand this, but it's absolutely legal for them to drive around, run into you, and only have personal injury protection coverage to pay up to $10,000 for their injuries, nothing for yours, and $10,000 in property damage, and they're completely legal. So the way to protect yourself, your family members, and people in your car is to have uninsured motorist coverage.
And Matt, you've got uninsured motorists, don't you?
Yes, we do. It's important that you do, because that's one of the most questions that we hear when our clients come into our office. When we get the insurance information, we say, "Well, sorry, the person who hit you didn't carry any bodily injury coverage." So, well, what do you mean you didn't carry any bodily injury coverage? Doesn't everybody have to carry insurance? And under the state of Florida, the only coverage that they need to carry is PIP, personal injury protection, and property damage, and that's it.
So then, we're in an accident now. What is the first thing you should do from there?
The very first thing you should do is make sure that the evidence from that accident is well documented. Like Brian was talking about, you need to get the insurance information from the other driver. Get the driver's license number of the other driver. Oftentimes they may give you the wrong insurance information. If they have an insurance card, get that. If you have a cell phone that has a camera, take pictures of the property damage. If you don't have the disposable camera.
Prior to becoming your own CSI in the traffic scene, shouldn't you probably call either the county or the FHP to get them out on scene to take a full accident report?
Sure, you should do that. Oftentimes, though, the investigating agencies won't come out if there's no injuries that would require medical care.
I did not know that.
Well, one of the important things, too, is obviously it's important to call the police, but one of the things that after the officers investigate the accident, one of the things that we see in our practice is people don't understand this, but there's an accident report privilege. So you could be at the scene of an accident and you could have the person who caused the accident indicate that, yes, they're sorry, they rear-ended you and it's their fault. And they could say that to you, they could say that to the police officer, it could go into the accident report. But we've had cases where after that takes place and it's written down on the accident report, people who caused accidents come up with a new story and they say, well, no, you stopped short, you changed lanes suddenly, so you were at fault. And then our clients say, well, what about the accident report? That person got the ticket, isn't that the end of the story? And it's not the end of the story. Actually, in civil litigation, there's two areas of law or two kind of bodies of law that people don't know until they come to see an attorney. Number one, accident report privilege. Anything that the defendant said to the police officer is never admissible in court in a civil case. So that's shocking to them. The other thing that's shocking to them, and the other thing that's shocking to people is the fact that the police officer issued a citation to the other driver for reckless driving or whatever, never going to be admissible in a court of law. And we have many clients that are they're very angry when they find that out. And they say, well, how could this person change their story? Actually, it's absolutely legal for them to do that, and we think it's wrong, but unfortunately there are those privileges because you want to make sure that people cooperate with police officers and give information at the scene of the accident so that the state of Florida can have their statistics and the accident can be completely investigated. The problem becomes when they try to change the story later and you cannot use those statements against them. Very frustrating.
Now, to avert all these problems, should I use a term like avert. I'm very excited when the attorneys come on. I whip out my vocab. To avert all these problems, at what point during the accident and post-accident problem should they get on the phone and call Perenich and Carroll?
Well, we think it's very important that they call early. And as Matt said, that's why it's so important to gather the names of witnesses. Even though you think it's a very clear accident, the so-and-so ran the red light, they admitted it to the police officer, all the witnesses go, okay, then I guess no one needs me, and they leave. Very important to get that. We think it's important that they get an attorney early because people don't really know, but the largest insurance companies here in the Bay Area, Allstate, Geico, State Farm, they all own their own law firms. So when one of their insureds causes an accident and reports it, they immediately have the weight of those insurance companies behind them. They're investigators, they're adjusters, they're lawyers. So certainly people that have been injured as a result of no negligence of their own, they should have lawyers working on their side immediately to protect their rights, we think.
And another thing is, although the defendant's statements to the officer is not admissible, if you hire an attorney quick enough, you can have the investigator take the recorded statement, and any statements that the at-fault driver made to the investigator can be brought up in a trial if needed.
Admissible.
That's right. That's another one. That's
saw
for
that on
next
Law and
week.
Order, huh? Now, so let me ask you this. So you go out, they hire Perenich and Carroll to fight for their rights, to go up against the big insurance lobby or whatever they got shaken, the empire that they've built to go against us all. How do you folks get paid?
Good question. The way attorneys typically get paid, there's two ways. Traditionally, you've heard about the way where you get paid win, lose, or draw. You pay a lawyer an hourly fee. We really generally do not work that way. We work on what's known as a contingency fee, where we do not get paid unless we win. It requires us, of course, to pre-screen cases and only take cases that we believe are meritorious cases. And then the client pays no money up front, and our fee is at the end of the case. If we are successful, it's a percentage of the recovery.
Because lots of times the people involved in an automobile accident are missing work. So if they're missing work, they can't collect the wages in order to pay their mortgage and their car payment and such like that. How are they going to be able to afford an attorney? The contingency fee keeps what they say, the keys to the courthouse open for those who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford an attorney.
Beautiful. Brian Caulfield, Matt Noyes, thank you guys again from Perenich and Carroll for joining us.
Thank you, Tim.
Excellent information. Coming up, author Susan Dellinger gives us new insight into the old baseball scandal. Don't go away.
This segment was paid for by the Law Office of Perenich and Carroll.